Hello, it's Shantae from Stitching Hearts Embroidery. I've been gone for a little bit, but today I want to share with you how to set up in Embrilliance this key tag or bag tag in the hoop design. So in that, if you know anything about digitizing or you know your way around the software a little bit, you can even make your own tag. But I have the tag listed for little of nothing in my Etsy shop. And I will link that below later on. But I just want to share with you, I've had a lot of people ask me about them. This was a really big seller for me. A couple of years ago when my Etsy store was open and going, like flight attendants and nurses and schools, like I was getting bulk orders even outside of Etsy. And so it's a good seller. It's a good thing to add on to things that you're selling, to whatever it is that you do. So like if you do shirts and you're doing a pop-up, it's good to have these kind of either inspirational sayings or popular sayings, or like this is not yours and this was just something, it was a tag that was going around and people kept ordering it. They wanted the handle wrap and the bag tag. They were ordering this not yours thing. And I have a funny story, but we would be here all day if I got into all my stories. But last year my husband didn't put a tag on his bag and somebody else took it home. And so we are now back to, I think my family got so comfortable because I make so many tags and we have tags everywhere. And they got really comfortable, not really thinking about putting tags in addition to like the traditional airline tag or boat or ship tag or whatever. And he really got for his bag. And it was an accident, but he didn't have an identifier on it. So anyway, so let's get going. So if you get my tag from Etsy, then this is what you will end up with if you're using Embrilliance. And so the tag comes in two sizes and both sizes are listed in that one download or in the one listing. So you get a 6x2.5, which is good for a 5x7 hoop. This is a 5x7 hoop rendering on the screen. And then you'll also get a is it like a 3 3/4 by 1.5. And so if you're using Embrilliance, all of them can be resized a little bit. That's one thing that we know that Embrilliance does pretty well. Not one of the things that we know. And so usually my tags are not this wide. They're not this thick. Hopefully I will show some pictures of some at the end of this. But because I was using this Y that had this drop down and I just wanted this certain size, then I made it a little larger. And then I thought it's better if I make it a little larger for the download, and then you can size it down if you want or narrow it out a little bit, than to make it small and then you're really stretching it. So let me know if you purchase it from me and you have some issues or you need a different size, just let me know. I can help you out. Or if you're trying to put your wording on, which is what we're getting ready to do right now, and you need some additional help, just message me in one of the ways. Stitching Hearts on all the platforms. Stitching Hearts a little bit different because some things weren't available, but Stitching Hearts all the way across. So anyway, so you would download it. This 1.1, the first step is the placement step. So this is a step that you're going to run on your stabilizer to show you where to lay your material so that it's within the boundaries of the design, right? Or over the boundaries so that you have enough material. The second one is, we call it the tack down stitch. So position or placement and then tack down. So it is going to run a stitch, just a single stitch around the design. And I like that to go next because I don't like to put my lettering and then maybe have my fabric shifting around a little bit. So it's almost like a basting stitch. So it's going to tack it down, right? This next one is the backing, right? Number 3. So you would run those first two, put your lettering on there. We'll stick that in a minute. And then you would take your hoop off of your machine, not take your fabric out of your hoop, but your hoop off of your machine, flip your hoop over and lay another piece of fabric down on top with the pretty side facing up, because that'll be the back of your design. You'll see it, right? Tape it down pretty good. Flip your hoop back over the right way, stick it in, and let it run number 3. And then you're going to take it right back out and trim around the front, the top material. You're going to flip it over and you're going to trim closely around the back material. So then you will have the design would look just like this once you've trimmed around both the front and the back. It just won't have this finishing stitch on it yet. So then, of course, that's what's next. It's the satin stitch, which is, the finishing stitch. That's what's going to close up the edges. And so that's what determines for me what colors I use and what kind of stabilizers. And we'll get into that in a minute, because I always want to have like a smooth finish. I don't like the cutting afterwards and trying to cut close enough. It just does not work for me. And so that's going to give you a nice satin outline around it. And then I leave this top stitch, or this bean stitch. If you can see on the photo, it looks kind of purplish. I leave that extra. I always feel like and have felt like it is kind of securing my satin stitch. And it's probably just me, but when I have something that has a satin stitch and it's going to be used a lot, like my wipe holders. I don't know if you've seen any of those. And so that the oval where you open up the baby wipes, I feel like that's going to be used a lot. So I always want the satin stitch because it finishes up the edges, but then I like that bean stitch just to secure that. So I feel like that for these tags, but some people don't like the extra and you just want a cleaner look, then you can leave that off. And then the same for this little circle. So on the screen, it looks yellow. And so each thing is a different color. That's showing yellow. And it is just a satin stitch that, I can't find my camera today, that goes here and there. I don't typically use a satin stitch when I am making my bag tags, because I use a hole puncher and then like a grommet press or an eyelet press. And so then I will end up with, I don't know if you can see that, just like an eyelet on there. And so I don't need those satin stitches. Early in my embroidery, I would buy these designs with this satin stitch, and then I would be selling designs on my Etsy store. And I would sometimes put the hole puncher in there, even using a smaller one, and nip some of those satin stitches and mess up the whole thing, because then you have these loose unraveling satin stitches in there. And so you can use an awl, is that what it's called? An awl? The pointy thing to stick in there, or a hole puncher or a seam ripper. Some of you may, if you don't have a hole punch and the eyelet thing, and you just want to start practicing these, because I always say that practice makes improvement. So practice a lot. If you know me, like my friends be like, what? I'm just practicing. It takes me at least 10 of something to get it to where I feel comfortable doing it. And so I will get a new design and make a bunch of them for gifts and friends and my kids and family. I make them because it just takes me a while to get it. And so if you want to just be practicing and you don't have your hole punch thing yet, or you don't plan to use one and you just want it to be the bean stitch around there, then that is on there. But you can always leave that step off, right? So I told you these are the steps. Let's turn off 3D, see if we can see that a little better. So that's going to be placement or position, tack down, the back placement or the back tack down, the satin stitch around, the bean stitch, and the eyelet hole. And that's it. Now, whenever I get a new design, I take it to my computer or to my machine, and I always put a bunch of stops in. So I use a Brother machine. All of my machines are Brother. And so it's the hand. I don't know about other machines. I have not worked on any other machines except Brother. And so after the editing, you go to a screen and it lists your steps, and you can put a manual automatic. You manually put in a stop that will automatically stop, right? So I put a stop by each one. So not the first one, but the second one, I stop, I stop, I stop, I stop, I stop. That gives me the option to fix anything that's not really going well, that maybe I would change my colors, or I don't really like the way that's going, or oh no, whatever. And so, it's how I'm learning the design. So I put those stops in, right? So we're going to go through it one more time before I put the name on here. So we're going to hoop our stabilizer, and right now I'm using a clear sheeting, and that's working for me. I use a 4 ml or 4 mil from Home Depot or Walmart are the ones that I've found that have worked well for me. I had a 3 point something mil before, and it was cloudy. It just didn't work for me. So for a long time, I thought I didn't like the plastic sheeting, and then I tried a different one, and it really worked well. So that's what I've been using, but I use a variety of stuff, and that's for another video. So you're going to lay down your stabilizer, whatever that is, and you're going to run step 1. It's going to stop at the end of it and allow you to lay down a piece of fabric, whatever you're making your tag out of. Video for another day. Then you're going to let it tack down, secure it on there. Then in a minute, we're going to add a name. And so because I have stops in here, then I usually like my name at the top so I won't forget to put the name on it. So when my machine stops right here, then I use the back screen button. So I back it up to the name and allow it to do the name on there. As soon as the name is done, I take it off of my computer and I lay this on the back and tape it down of my computer, my machine. Tape it down, and then I go to this stitch, which is going to tack down the back. So then you won't see the back of the name, the bobbin threads on the back of that, right? Because you have put the material on the back. So you tack that down. And as soon as it does that, it's going to stop again. And I'm going to take it off, and I'm going to get my applique scissors and cut as close around the design as I can, and it should look really clean like this. So you're going to cut the piece of material at the top of the machine, of the stabilizer, and then you got to flip it over and cut your backing material on the back. Sometimes I put foam or fleece inside if I want a thicker looking tag. Actually, this one has some foam in it. I'm just remembering that. And so you got to just clean that all up. Then you're going to put it back in your machine and allow the satin stitch to run to clean up all those edges. It's just going to be nice and clean. And I run it slow, especially when I'm just doing it, when I'm doing any new design, so that I can see where the digitizer or how they have spread out those stitches or inset them or whatever, so that I know that design well and how close I need to cut to get a clean finish. So sometimes I will stop it in the middle, cut that thread, take it off, and clean that up a little more, and then put it back. I usually don't ever just sit there and watch it running and I'm seeing all this stuff sticking out all over the place. I will stop it, clean it up, and then put it back in, let it finish that satin stitch. And then I told you I like the bean stitch. It's probably just in my mind because there's plenty of underlay on this satin stitch. You know, it is digitized in there that it should be a very secure satin stitch, but I just like to know that it is okay. It has another edge. There's not going to be any unraveling when this is in my purse or it gets wet or something happens, that thread those stitches are good and in there. So then I run that. And then I told you I usually skip the eyelet step, but on this one I put it in just to make sure that my hole punch fit in that eyelet. That it would fit in there. And so that's it. So next thing is let's add a word. And so this is the way you would get the design with all of that. And then you'd use your Embrilliance Software, Embrilliance Essentials, to go in and add a word. We are going to do something pretty simple. My name is always a good name to do. Let's see. So let's see what we get here. Yep, that works. It's a little small. What was it called? Maya. Okay, that works. So I am going to, when I click on that, I get the the 2 arrows and the square in the middle. And so that's going to allow me to, I take the bottom arrow and move everything at once. That looks pretty good. I'm going to move this T right over the edge of that N, and I'm going to move this E right over. And so I think this is good. And I'm going to make it just a tad bit smaller because Embrilliance helps me with resizing. And so I'm going to leave it pretty big like that. And so let's go back to 3D, and there you have it. So here it is at the bottom. I like to click on it, right? I left clicked. I have to think right, left. I left clicked, and then I right click, and I'm going to say move it first. It just helps me to remember when it's first. And now I'm looking at it, and I look like my end might be a little bit too close. I don't really want them like on top of each other. And this one may be a little bit over like that. Okay. And so I moved it first, right? And so now back to the design. When I take this over to my machine, then I am going to put a manual automatic. I don't know what it is. If I'm saying manual, then it means I'm stopping it. If I'm saying automatic, it's stopping on its own. Well, I am putting the stop in so that it'll stop on its own. So I'm putting a stop for this one. When I get to the machine, I'm putting a stop for that one, that one, that one, that one, and that one. And sometimes along the way, if I'm looking for hardware and I don't have an eyelet to match, then by the time I get to this step, then I'm going to go ahead and let the eyelet, play out or stitch out. And so back to this again. So I'm going to lay down my stabilizer, stitch the placement. It's going to stop. I'm stitching my placement stitch on my stabilizer. It's going to stop. I'm going to lay a piece of material down and let it tack it down, my tack down, right? Then I'm going to, when it stops that time, after it tacks it down, instead of going to the next step, I'm going to use the move screen button, and it just depends on your machine how you do that. So I'm not backing up like stitch by stitch, but I'm actually going to step one, the steps before. And so I'm going to move back to let it stitch out my name. And because I put a stop on this first one, even if I walk out of the room, it's going to stitch my name and then stop. And then I'm going to come back and look like, I need to go down and put the back on now. So after it stitches my name, I'm going to take it off, turn that hoop over, lay the backing on there, and then put it back in the machine and let it tack down the backing. Take it out of the machine, trim around, and then let it do the finishing stitches. It seems like a lot, and I've repeated it maybe 3-4 times or whatever, so it seems like a lot, but I'm gonna say this might be a 10-minute stitch out. Probably the longest thing about doing these tags is whatever font or name you choose to put on there, as we know. And then really quick, I always like to say this about font. So we know if we have a native font and we pick it, it's not going to have the needle next to it. So this is not a native font. So there are some limitations to what I can do in sizing and all that stuff. And the digitizer gave me different sizes so I don't have to even worry about that part. But there is always this. I can go up to stitch, and this right here where it says compensation. Now this looks like a nice full thick font. It just does not look like I need to add anything to it. So it would depend on the bottom material. Sometimes white vinyl stretches and will get a little goofy. Maybe it's other colors too, but definitely the white vinyl for me has given me problems. And so then if I'm using this white vinyl and it's gonna pull and stretch a little bit, I'm gonna add a little bit of compensation. I usually do 1 or 2. Usually I like to stay around 1. And so let me go back to 0. Can you see that it moved? So look at the name. I'm gonna go up to 3 just so you can see how it moved. And so it thickens it up a little bit. It adds some stitches in there. And so I like to keep it, I don't like to like distort the whole design or the whole look of the letters. And so I don't add too much, but that is just another thing that you can do. And if we were using a native VX font, I don't have a lot of them, but I just, on one of the Embrilliance Facebook pages, I met a lady kind of online, and she has an Etsy store, and she has a lot of native fonts. And I would like to work with them a little more, just because I want to know how, that with the native fonts, you can change the stitching. You can do a lot more things with them. And so I would like to play with those a little bit. So I'm going to look into that maybe later today. But anyway, that is all. The next video will be me actually taking this over to my machine and stitching it out. It's a quick stitch out, and I don't have to like show you the whole running. I'll just show you like the steps, and then I can share some of the materials that I use for that. So I will see you guys again really, really soon this time, not like weeks and weeks and weeks. So have a good evening, and I'll see you soon. Bye.